All right, let's bring in now Sky News contributor Kosha Gada. Kosha, great to see you. Look, let's talk about this epic row between Donald Trump and Harvard University. Trump is now threatening to pull another $1 billion in funding. What's happened and where's this up to?
Yeah, so this issue is only heating up. We're sort of a standoff of sorts between the preeminent university brand in the world and the Trump administration. And what undergirds the whole thing, because there's a few layers to it, what undergirds it is cut and dry financial picture, really, because the U.S. spends about $80 billion a year in subsidizing higher education. It is one of the U.S.'s top categories, and they do lots of good work, research, they run hospitals, all sorts of things. However, when we're at $36 trillion in debt and you're looking at the level of spending cuts that this administration is looking to do, that gets called into question. And within that, Harvard specifically gets about 10% of that, $8 or $9 billion a year. So that's one question, and they're a very wealthy university with a huge endowment fund, lots of money in their own pockets. And then when you layer onto that, there's other questions around violations of the Civil Rights Act. Have they been discriminatory to students of different backgrounds? And also
Jewish
just the political ideology that everybody knows that they do at Jewish students for sure became a flashpoint, as well as others. So he's putting all that together and just taking this fight to Harvard. And it's going to be very interesting to see how these two very powerful institutions, Harvard versus the U.S. government, play out in the weeks to come.
Well, anti-Semitism at Harvard has been appalling. Let's talk about US Defence Secretary Pete Hegseth. There's new revelations that he reportedly shared sensitive military information in another Signal chat. This is the private messaging app, this time with his wife and advisors. What's he saying in his defence over this, Kosha?
You know, his defense through his spokesperson, Sean Parnell, has been that none of the information that's been in these Signal chats have been classified or were being given in any way that has brought danger to the armed forces that are out on duty in the world, and that will run its course. He's kind of sticking to that. I think, look, this isn't great for him. He was already, it was a difficult and controversial figure who barely got confirmed. He is going out against a lot of protected interests, so there are people who have the knives out for him as well, and any such misstep gives an exposure point to them. But I think this battle will continue, and for now it does seem that Trump does have his back for now, and he does serve at the pleasure of the president.
We end tonight where we started. The Vice President, J.D. Vance, actually met briefly with Pope Francis over the Easter weekend. Of course, this was one of his last, if not his final official meeting before the leader of the Catholic Church passed away. Kosha, tell us about the significance and what was discussed at this meeting.
It was reportedly a very short meeting, only minutes long, because the Pope obviously had not been in good health. It is interesting because Pope Francis, while he definitely leaves a big legacy, and our heart goes out to millions of Christians tonight who loved him dearly, he was, of course, a controversial figure. People do know that. He tended to wade into political matters, and one in particular was mass migration, has been an issue that he's weighed in on many times. That is something where certainly he was maybe diametrically opposed to J.D. Vance's views and the Trump administration's views, so they reportedly did speak about that a little bit in the few minutes that they had. But after that, I think the bulk of J.D. Vance's meeting was actually with the second in command underneath the Pope, where they maybe had more of a substantive discussion and a longer duration of that meeting.
Yeah, and, you know, we'll have to see whether world leaders do travel to Rome, to Vatican City, to pay their respects to Pope Francis. He's, as we've been speaking about tonight, passed away at the age of 88. All right, Kosha Gada, thank you very much for your time.